everyone. I'm Wendell Jones, the ambassador of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas to the United States, Colombia, and Malaysia. The Embassy of the Bahamas and the consulate offices in the various cities in the United States have organized a series of conversations with members of the Bahamian diaspora to strengthen mutually beneficial partnerships with the goal of advancing the national development of the Bahamas. There are scores of Bahamians and their descendants who live in the United States whose skills and talents must be harnessed in the development of our nation. Given their achievements, these Bahamians are making us proud. And so today we begin this engagement with some outstanding scholars and professionals who love their country, the Bahamas, and who are in the global workforce making significant contributions. Joining me in the conversation today are Aishka Bow, a scientist, motivational speaker, and entrepreneur, Tashay Cooper, who is a Deputy General Counsel of FTX, Dr. Anna Roberts-Pilgrim, who holds a PhD in biochemistry, Bronson Pilgrim, Principal of Cyber Risk Services at Deloitte, Rashad Cooper, a Commercial Counsel at Verizon Business Group, and Dr. D'Angelo Ferguson, a surgeon in residence at Howard University. Thank you all for being a part of our panel today. And for starters, I'm going to give you an opportunity to speak some more about yourselves. And so let's begin with Aishka Bow.
Thank you, Ambassador Jones. It's truly an honor to be here with you all today. I fondly remember all the time I spent in the Bahamas. And I want to start there because it's been a motivating factor for the work that I do globally. As a former NASA rocket scientist, an entrepreneur of a 7, now 8-figure company, and a recent entrepreneur to raise over $1 million for technology I created in the Bahamas, it's important to me for people to understand how important not only Bahamians are, but the work that we do globally. And so I'm excited to be here today to talk about the entrepreneurship, to talk about the inspiration, and also to talk about the work that we've done being on the forefront of education and how do we teach science, technology, engineering, and math subjects in areas like the Bahamas, where you have a distributed number of individuals with great aptitude to transform the future of the country.
Very good. Let's go now to Tashay Cooper.
Hello, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm Tashay Cooper. I'm a product of Bimini, Bimini All Age in particular. I was raised, born in the US, raised in Bimini, transitioned to high school in Nassau, graduated from St. Anne's. From there, the rest of my training took place in the United States, first in New Jersey, where I went to college, studied international business and psychology. And then I worked in New York for many number of years, first in compliance, where I was first an intern, left as vice president of compliance, having led projects in their New York, London, and Tokyo, Japan offices, before going to law school in Chicago, and then returning to New York to work at the sort of the two premier legal institutions there. And now I'm sort of deputy general counsel at FTX. So I sort of lay it out like that, starting from Bimini, and starting from, in particular, a public institution in Bimini, just to sort of illustrate what the potential is for, members of our community, whether they be in the core in Nassau or whether they're in Cat Island or Bimini, wherever they may be, our potential is boundless, it's limitless. So I'm very encouraged to see that this conversation is happening and to see where it goes, because I think members of our community and that diaspora have a lot to give back in terms of our stories, our experiences, and providing a platform for others. So it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Very good. Dr. Anna Roberts-Pilgrim.
Good afternoon. I have to say, it's a tough act to follow our first two panelists, but I am very pleased to be in your company. I am Dr. Anna Roberts-Pilgrim. I have a PhD and I currently work at the National Institutes of Health, where I liaison with the Office of Research on Women's Health. I want to echo what Aisha and Tushi had said. I think that our journey coming from the Bahamas here to the United States was fraught with a lot of uncertainties that we have all figured out how to maximize to our potential. And looking back, you can see how many other Bahamians have the same potential. And it's very exciting to be a part of this conversation and to get the talking started in ways that we could help our colleagues in the Bahamas.
Very good. Okay, let's have the men now. Let's speak with Rashad Cooper.
Yes, Mr. Jones, Ambassador Jones, it is great to see you again. I fondly remember many conversations, and congratulations on your ambassadorship. My name is Rashad Cooper. I am a very, very proud Bahamian, in part, not the least evidenced by my beautiful Bahamian wife, who is sitting just to the right of myself. And I was able to, I guess, capture one of the Bahamian, not capture, but to, I guess, have one of the Bahamas finest. So that is indeed a blessing. I am a proud graduate of St. Augustine's College, Nassau, Bahamas. Thereafter, going on to Princeton University in New Jersey, where I studied international relations with a focus on small island developing states and sub-Saharan Africa. Very much interested in the Bahamian development. After that, several years of working in New York City, I went on to Northwestern University School of Law, which we are both graduates as well, where I earned a Juris Doctor, focusing primarily in business and international law. At each juncture, I would say that I have beaten the drum for the Bahamas, a proud Bahamian, as I say, and I look forward to not only the discussion, but to forming closer ties and linkages with today's panelists and other Bahamians, of course, for the development of the Bahamas. So again, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Branson Pilgrim.
Yes, sir. So good afternoon, Ambassador Jones. I have to say, Rashad, man of my own heart. I too am joined by my wife. Beautiful. You have to, keep it on my Bahamian wife, Anna Pilgrim. But I think, the interesting thing here, I didn't know that you also are a graduate of St. Augustine's College, the mighty Big Red Machine, probably the most, dominant high school in all of the Bahamas, but we'll, not stop there. But again, my name is Bronson Pilgrim. I am a principal partner at Deloitte, where I focused on cyber services, and I serve a number of agencies within the federal government, and have supported a number of Fortune 50 accounts across the United States. But I'd say in terms of just being with this wonderful panel, I'd like to encourage the folks that are listening to this that, my journey obviously didn't, coming out of high school didn't start off, a very scripted. I came out of St. Augustine's College actually without understanding how I would go off to school, how I would make it, what I was going to do, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I guess I'm here to kind of represent that, if you think about it, if you believe it, you really could achieve it, as long as you've got God on your side. So I was fortunate to actually start my career at a small offshore company in the Bahamas, Mies Pearson, which is now Scotia Trust today. They were dutiful in granting me a scholarship to where I went to Florida A&M, and I studied computer science. And then I think in between there, I married my beautiful wife, Anna. And then I made my way to the University of Missouri, where I attained my master's in business administration and was recruited as a graduate student intern at Deloitte within the St. Louis office. And I think the rest has been history. And I'd say, like I said, I am here to represent that there's something special about just being Bahamian. There's a hustle attitude, a hustle spirit, an intuitiveness to just be able to figure it out. And I think if I were to just encompass everybody's story here, in terms of continuing this conversation, I'd like to definitely represent that, it's all possible no matter what you set your future on. So thank you so much for being here, and happy to be part of the conversation.
Your impression of the Bahamas and where it is today, the Bahamas in this hemisphere?
Well, thank you for that question. I would say that I am extremely proud of where we are. We're coming up, I believe, on 50 years of independence next year. If you look at some of the major pillars by which one would describe a successful society in the sports world, of course, we've done extremely well with Sade, Miller, Weibo, and Stephen Gardner, and many others. We don't need to go into the specifics, but we have done extremely well in that respect. Economically, we have seen the rise of cryptocurrency, as Tashay working in FTX, having chosen the Bahamas as their jurisdiction of choice for their headquarters. I believe another exchange is OKX exchange as well, that is domiciled now in the Bahamas. So Grand Bahama recently, of course, dealing post-Dorian, that tragedy that we had, we now see the potential for a Carnival port container going on there, as well as the revitalization of the Lucayan. So I would say economically, sports-wise, we have really punched above our weight, I would say, on the international world. Of course, being a low-lying country, climate change is another issue that really we take very seriously. Recently, the Bahamas, I think, presented very well at the international conference. I believe it was in Scotland or somewhere near the United Kingdom very recently. Minister Davis and members of his organization went up there and really I told the international community about the importance of arresting the climate change and various sea level rises and whatnot. So there are many other facets. Of course, I have not met Mrs. Bowe, but very familiar with her work in the STEM, in the STEM field as well. And I believe it's now international. So we have Bahamians and the Bahamas. If I had to summarize it, Mr. Jones, I should say Ambassador Jones, I have to get used to that.
That's okay, that's right.
We punch above our weight. We punch above our weight. And I would almost take any category and apply it and say that the Bahamas is well represented. So it's always a blessing and a privilege to be a Bahamian.
That's very good to hear. And since you mentioned Ms. Bowe, let's hear your comment on where we are. Are we really punching above our weight?
Ambassador Jones, I could not be any more excited to be involved in what's happening in the Bahamas at this time. For those of you who know, I was recently featured in a documentary that was shot by Reese Witherspoon's production company for the creation of a coding kit that we started 6 years ago through a program called Hack It in the Bahamas, where we challenged Bahamian high school students over 5 days to build a technology-enabled prototype that in some way would enhance an element of Bahamian life. Little did I know then that we would be doing that now. I just came back from a trip in Grand Bahama where we introduced not only these coding kits, but the concept of teaching the students basic Bitcoin mining using Raspberry Pi. And how do we equip them with the knowledge that they need so that they can participate in the economy that will be created by FTX being on the island? It is incredible to see not only the impact of that time 5 or 6 years ago, but what is happening now. I just came from San Francisco last night where I gave a talk at a venture capital conference. And wouldn't you know, one of the students who attended the Hackett Camp, Stephen Seymour, is an associate venture capitalist at DCVC, one of the eminent venture capital firms in the Valley, because he had an opportunity to go through that type of educational experience in the Bahamas that prepared him to be a global leader and an investor. And so I believe that we are exactly, as Mr. Cooper said, not only well poised, but that we are going to be in the midst of a technological, just, it's going to flourish. Literally, the Bahamas is going to flourish. And you're going to see a diversification of the economy and an influx of new capital as the Bahamas becomes the center of crypto.
Very good. Mr. Pilgrim?
I would agree. I've been very encouraged with, where the recent crypto exchanges have been setting up shop on Nassau. Obviously, crypto has been big. I've also been encouraged by my recent journeys in interacting with a number of the Fortune 500 companies and kind of noting that there are remarkable Bahamians that are actually instituted in a number of these. Like this group that's on here right now, it's a small subset, and I'm sure that my other fellow panelists probably know in the 10s or 20s of other Bahamians that are out there. So I would say I love the momentum. Aisha, I'm with you with STEM. I'm a STEM guy myself, computer science background. I was blessed to have parents and a great educational system that really instituted a lot of what I was able to do in terms of just being able to leverage logic in ways that allowed me and afforded me to get off the island. I'd say the one thing is while I am cautiously optimistic about where crypto is going to be. It's somewhat still of a nascent technology. And so, we're there, is that I think that we should continue to focus on education, right? And so I think that just making sure that we don't lose sight of the younger generation to make sure that they are actually equipped with where we, taking advantage of these opportunities, I think is going to be key. But from where we stand today, it is a world of opportunity, and I am absolutely just excited in terms of where it's going to take us.
Mrs. Cooper.
Yeah, I'd just like to amplify everything that others on the panel have said. So Rashard went over some of our accomplishments as a country in the broader spectrum, right, in sort of sports and in tourism and economics, et cetera. Which, it's impressive for a nation of our size, but I think it's only a glimpse of, what our potential actually is, right? And I think, at one point in time where the global stage was more divided than it is now, where technology has enabled us to do far more across borders than we could have in the past. The opportunities for the country are far greater, and so I think what we need to emphasize, like the one area where I think we need to do a lot better is in education, as Mr. Pilgrim has said, and as Ms. Bowe is working on, right? So I think we really need to just basically have like a maniacal focus on improving the quality of education at all levels, and in particular with respect to the STEM topics and technology as a general matter, because like I said, technology in and of itself has brought down barriers, and the only way that we can take advantage of those lowered barriers is by increasing our capacity, our skill set in that area, and there is absolutely no reason why we cannot. We have sort of some of the greatest innovators globally, like an FTX coming to the Bahamas, coming to our shores. There's no reason why we can't create the next one, or be a part of their dev team, or have people coming from all over to be a part of the team that someone in the Bahamas creates. I mean, we have now the opportunity to do far more than we have ever done, and the global spotlight is on us. We have been pioneers in crypto, starting with the sand dollar. I mean, the fantastic work that the central bank has done, and that was only supplemented by the move by crypto exchanges like FTX. But, we've been out there with the sand dollar in the national sphere for a long time now, for a few years now, before it was even launched. So I just want to sort of call attention to the opportunities that we have. I mean, we have done well, but there's sort of limitless opportunities for us yet to be had. And I'd love to sort of see those realized.
Dr. Roberts Pilgrim, chime in on the same point.
Yes, I agree. And I think me and Dr. Ferguson are the only two from more of a medical, biological science background. So my views change. I hear a lot of business going on, and I do like that. I love that that's happening in the Bahamas, that we're owning that space. What I would like to see, as everyone chimed in, is education be more robust, because I feel like we have just brilliant minds that have learned to thrive with, less than optimal conditions. And those are the type of minds that are able to think outside the box. They always bring new innovation because they've always had to, right? And I think that makes Bahamian children really primed to just do amazing things. What I would like to see also with our focus on education is a focus on women's rights. I think that is something that saddens me with the Bahamas. We still struggle to have equality between the sexes, a very big struggle. We have a high rate of domestic violence. We have a high rate of inequality in leadership positions in the Bahamas. And I'd like to see those things start to change. But it still all starts with the education. It's how we treat our girls in school versus our boys. It's what we give them to do, the opportunities we give all of them. And it's not just something, of course, specific to the Bahamas. The Caribbean is the world is sort of catching up to this gender equality, and so that is what I would like to see a little more of.